Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman from Tampa, Florida, meet the winner of this year's Environmental Stewardship Award. Plus, a day in the life of NCBA President-elect Bob McCann.
And now, a special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Cattlemen from around the country work hard every single day to produce the best beef in the world. And NCBA President-elect Bob McCann is no exception. Let's learn a little bit about him and his family operation in Victoria, Texas.
Well, I'm a fifth-generation rancher that's ranched this property here in Victoria County, Texas. And my great-great-grandfather came down here in the 1850s and established our ranch about 1877 here at this confluence of the Guadalupe and Santone River. And we've been here ever since.
In the pre-dawn hours, Bob saddles up at his family's McFadden Enterprises. It's mainly a cow-calf operation where they raise commercial, purebred Brayford cattle.
They're three-quarter Hereford, 25% Brahman influenced, and we market steers, and also we sell replacement animals, replacement commercial heifers, and Brayford bulls also that we send all around the country.
Growing up in the cattle industry has given Bob a deep respect for the land and its resources. He's won several awards for rangeland management and stewardship.
Well, it's, you know, this resource that we have is just, they're not making any more of it. And it's going to be sustainable for myself and my family and my children for generations to come. We've got to take care of it, and we've got to make sure that it's going to be able to support the economies of scale, the livestock grazing, as well as our wildlife populations, our white-tailed deer and bobwhite quail, that we get a lot of revenue from also. So that's the main thing. I think it's got to maintain a viable sustainability economically as well as environmentally.
Bob's a veteran member of NCBA, and he's a past chairman of the association's policy division. That group is responsible for developing NCBA's positions on issues that are important for cattle producers. It also drives NCBA's work with lawmakers in Washington, D.C. As policy chair, Bob served as a conduit between the association and the state organizations.
If there's a state affiliate that's got a problem, you know, that regional VP is going to try to find out what the issue is. And they bring that up the ladder, and the officers and the staff will try to figure out how to do a better job there. So I think that's probably what we do best in the policy division side.
NCBA, Bob says, provides a wide spectrum of services to producers, including educational outreach, product promotion, and policy work. And those are important tools, he says, for anyone in the beef industry.
We've got a very nutritious, healthy product. There's a lot of people out there that would like the public to think otherwise. So we've got to constantly stay on top of that and make sure that the science is there and that the information is available to the consumers, and let them know what our story is. Let them know about the cattle producers out in the country.
Bob and other ranchers have been dealing with severe drought the past few years, but a big national issue, he says, is the shrinking cattle herd, and he'd like to see those numbers go up.
I think everybody is concerned that if we're not able to accomplish that our product price may get just so high that it's not going to be as desirable on the shelf, you know, if it gets too expensive. Certainly there's a balance to find there, and you know, we've got to make sure that we don't get this herd down to where it's a real problem for the pricing. We're trying to attract different foreign markets. We don't want to have to go to those foreign markets and say our beef is going to be the most expensive beef in the world. Certainly it's the most nutritious, healthiest, They need to pay for it, but if we don't keep a pretty good balance on these populations numbers, it's going to be too expensive and they're going to go somewhere else.
By taking advantage of educational opportunities, Bob says today's cattlemen and women are better informed, and he hopes his son and the new generation of producers will be able to continue the work he's known and loved all his life.
Well, I've kind of grown up on the ranch, and this is really pretty much all I've ever done, and so I enjoy it. I enjoy the whole thing. I enjoy cattle production, and I enjoy riding and being able to come out and spend time on the properties and see things grow, and so it's always a kind of a pleasure for me, and to be able to have the luxury to be out in the open spaces.
Reporting from McFadden, Texas, I'm Brad Bullitt for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
And joining us here in the studio is NCBA President-elect Bob McCann. Welcome, Bob.
Morning, Kevin.
Now, this past year, you've been first vice president. Tell us about some of the activities you've been involved in over the last year.
Well, we had a number of different task force working groups that were put together by the officers this year, and one being the Demand Resource Working Group, and another one being the Beef Foresight Advisory Group, and they were both task force that were compiled of members of our industry from the gate to the plate, from production all the way to the slaughterhouse, and had some great folks involved there, and they're both different issues, but they're both aligned towards protecting our members' freedom to operate and looking out for the future as far as any vulnerabilities that may come up for our industry.
And you've recently been named President-elect. Specifically, what will your responsibilities include over the next year now?
Well, I think we're going to really concentrate a lot on our state-national partnership and solidifying our state-national partnership. You know, that's key to our membership, and trying to get the word out, better communication amongst the states, as well as with state beef councils.
Very good. And as you think about the key issues that our industry at large will face, and specifically NCBA will face over the next year, what would be the top 3 or 4 or 5 issues that you see us facing?
Well, we've kind of prioritized a couple. Of course, we're going to work on all the policy issues that we have, but some of the top ones, of course, Farm Bill didn't get passed, so we're going to be working hard on that. We kind of have to redo a lot of those objectives that we had that we worked on in 2012. We've also got some issues we know we're going to have with the EPA as far as the Clean Water Act, and making sure that they keep that navigable waters definition within the Clean Water Act, and we're pretty sure they're gunning for us to try to take that out. So that's going to be a top issue. Immigration has come to the forefront recently since the election. That's been something we've been wanting to work on for a long time. We've got a couple of top priorities within that issue. One of them is going to be the pathway to citizenship and kind of how the cattlemen and the farmers and ranchers feel about that. And the other priority there would be to try to allow for the border security to be able to use motorized vehicles in the federal lands, which they haven't been able to use thus far. So
very good. You've got a full plate ahead. Congratulations on your recent appointment to President-elect, and good luck for the year ahead.
Thank you, Kevin.
To join Bob as a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit us online at beefusa.org. The 2013 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show was a huge success earlier this month. Cattlemen and women from across the country had a chance to network and discuss some of the big issues facing the beef industry. And we had the chance to ask a few cattlemen and women their thoughts on what the biggest challenge is going to be in 2013.
I'd say right now one of the biggest challenges is definitely the drought, especially in my area in southeast Kansas. We're just so dry, you know, ponds are low. It's an issue. Feedstuffs, I mean, the cost is just through the roof. So right now we're looking into different ways to feed our cattle at a more economical rate. And so that's bringing in different byproducts and non-traditional feedstuffs that we typically haven't used in the past. So it's just getting creative with some not so traditional things that we may have done before. And so I know that's a big problem in many areas of the country.
In order to manage, you know, it takes so much money to do, like, you know, even a few years ago, you know, we're doubling up on what it takes to operate in today's world. So it's a tough management. It's a tough management deal.
Education about our product and about what we do is probably one of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now, is that we need to educate people about what's going on and why we do things and how that's going to be productive and useful for them.
I think the cattle herd. We are at the lowest numbers since the Great Depression. And even though that is very good for prices, and I'm happy about that, long term we are going to be struggling to meet the demand for beef, and I do not want to see us lose our exports overseas, and I do not want to see imports being brought in to meet the demand.
Weather has always been an issue. West Texas, we're under drought conditions. It's something that every generation is going to talk about, that really bad drought situation that they had to endure. But the fact is, they endured that issue. They endured the drought. They've come back. They've continued to build those ranches and those communities and have survived it, and the communities have only gotten stronger.
From the supply side, numbers of beef is down, and the market should stay good for several years. If things get bad with the world economy or the U.S. economy, people aren't going to have the money to be able to buy our beef. So I think that's a big threat out there to our industry.
Our biggest challenge is to let the public know who we are, what we stand for, and the product that we produce, what it is, the safety that it is. That it's easy for the media to beat up on 0.5% of the population. It's hard for the 0.5% of population to take on 99.5%. And so we're really going to have to become more media savvy, do a lot of planning ahead for the issues, and let people know the product they get is safe as there is in the globe. And we need to do a better job of that.
Now, it's not too early to start thinking about next year's convention. The 2014 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show will be in Nashville, Tennessee, February 4th through the 7th. We sure would love to see you there. We always enjoy having Baxter Black on the show, but this week we're fortunate to have him live and in person. Baxter, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Kevin, it's always a pleasure to be in your company.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
You're just getting handsomer and more competent as the days go by.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah, well.
Like the shirt?
Yes.
Fully starched?
You know, it's fairly, actually it's not a shirt, ladies and gentlemen. He's had a tattoo put on there, and he just hangs a tie around his neck, and
away we go.
What do you think about a guy whose socks don't come over the top of his boots?
You wonder about that, don't you? But look at those boots. Those are good-looking boots.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you this.
Yep, that's...
Is that something? I'm trying to turn it so I can see. Those are beautiful.
Genuine hand-tooled boots.
Yes, they are.
Don't show them my white legs. We don't need to go there.
They're made out of visqueen, however.
On with our interview, Baxter
How many
Black.
Nagas did it take to make that pair of boots?
Naga hide.
No, actually they're, I say Gila monster hide.
Yeah, that is Gila monster, yep.
Yeah.
Genuine.
Gila monsters, of course, are endangered. That's why he's only wearing one.
Baxter, you're
call the law.
You have this article called The Edge of Common Sense, and you're in, what, 100 and some markets with this thing every week?
I am.
And you build speeches and poems around this. Where do your ideas come from?
Well, I'm lucky in that my audience,
yep,
and I do agricultural banquets for a living. And everybody watching RFD knows what I'm talking about.
You eat well then, don't you?
I do. You know,
How do you stay so skinny?
Well, I never work out. Well, that's not true. What was the question? Can you remember?
How do you get the ideas for all these articles and poems? And
my audience is also my inspiration.
All right.
Because no matter where I go, inevitably, someone has a story. And after doing this for so many years, I've come to the conclusion that just like love songs, there's an infinite number of ways that you can get mowed down or run over or butted or kicked or pawed or bucked off or humiliated. And everybody tells me those stories, and I'm kind of ashamed because I put them back in the column in the radio program, and I tell them back to you and you pay me.
It's a pretty good business model.
It is, so just keep it up. Every rec you get, send it to me. I'm at baxterblack.com.
But a lot of times you turn them into rhymes. I mean, did your mom read lullabies to you, or how did you come up with this rhyming, poetic piece of a veterinarian?
You're going deep, deep into my heart. I thought I was a songwriter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. You were a songwriter once, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You've done some of those commercials.
What commercial?
You probably didn't know that he is voicing that Dodge commercial. Oh, no, pardon me.
Paul Harvey. Yeah,
that was Paul Harvey.
So here's a question. I brought one with me because my wife had clipped this out and had it laying on my desk one week when I came home. It's called It's a Woman's Work. And you make a comment here, as we all know, many farms and ranches are operated by the team of husband and wife, yet their outfit is listed as a partnership with a man's name first. And you go on, I love your comment. You said a lot of times, you know, the wife is actually busy managing the ranch and the husband is doing, quote unquote, more important things like fixing the brakes on the 1-ton, changing the hot wire, getting the water ready, catching cattleman to cattleman on RFD TV. Yes. I consider it continuing education.
And I do.
Thanks for the plug.
I mean, even the cooking part, I don't cook.
And you still watch us?
Yes.
Well, thank you for considering us continuing education.
You know, I've always been curious. I know you are so good, but what's the lady's name who's the head chef?
Wife. Oh!
No, the head chef.
Shinoa.
Yes.
Yes.
She's great.
She's awesome.
And do you really, I mean,
you can tell I don't cook too, can't you?
But is it really good acting? Is sometimes it really not as good as you should be?
It's really, really good. The only thing I've asked her not to do, I don't like the stuff with olives in it. And so that's the only thing that I've struggled eating is the stuff when she puts lots of olive. But everything else has been delicious.
But you do it and say, these are the best olives I have ever eaten.
They are great olives. Yeah. So talk to us about the woman's role in most ranches across this country.
Well, I think the point I was making is 80% of all the veterinarians that graduating today are women. You go to any FFA meeting, of the 7 officers, they're all women, and the only officer that the boy holds is the guy who's guarding the trash can on the door, the sentinel. And in ag schools, you go to the block and bridle clubs and all of those, on the judging teams, women seem to, I hate to say dominate, but they are very influential. And they're at an age when they're young where women or girls actually will be serious about something while the boys are mostly trying to follow their testosterone. Yeah.
I hear you.
So women have...
I was going to say thank God for both the cattlemen and the cattlewomen, and thank you for all your creativity. You bring so much entertainment and fun to our show. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
For more entertainment, log on to cattleman2cattleman.org or baxterblack.com. Ahead on this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, the work the Beef Checkoff is doing to help meet consumer demand, plus the winner of this year's Environmental Stewardship Award. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's deer season savings time. Just in time to get you ready for hay season. With 0% financing on John Deere mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. Plus, get 0% financing on all John Deere utility tractors up to 140 horsepower. It's the season for savings on hay tools and tractors. Deer season. Be sure to stop by today.
Celebrate the heart of America at the 2013 National Ag Day. It's March 19th in our nation's capital. The event honors America's agricultural community and its contributions to our country and our world.
So it's appropriate and absolutely necessary that we take, not just today, not just this week, but every day and every week, to thank American farmers, ranchers, and producers.
Generations nurturing generations. To learn more, visit agday.org.
Grow more low-cost forage and improve grazing access by clearing out weeds and brush with these Dow AgroSciences herbicides. See your Dow AgroSciences representative or visit rangeandpasture.com.
Welcome back. Parasites cost the beef industry millions of dollars each year, and a new product called Long Range can help producers prevent these problems. Joining me in the studio today is Dr. Joe Diedrichson, Field Veterinary Service Director for Mariel. Welcome, Dr. Diedrichson.
Thank you.
Well, tell us about Long Range. What makes this product different than other dewormers?
It's a unique new technology called Theraphase, and when you inject it, it forms a matrix which gives an initial high peak, and then over time we get a second peak at about 100 days, which gives us 100 to 150 days of parasite control on pasture.
And specifically, what is it labeled for?
It's labeled for internal and external parasites for cattle.
So why should producers make Long Range their product of choice?
We look at our conventional products that we have available today, and they give us activity 3 to 5 weeks, where now we have a product that gives us activity 100 to 150 days. So when we look on pasture, to really do a good job of cleaning that pasture and breaking the pasture parasite cycle, you need activity for 100 days. With Long Range, you can accomplish that.
You talk about the parasite cycle. I know timing is really important as it relates to deworming products. When should we give Long Range?
Long Range should be given when parasite transmission is the highest, which is when the grass starts springing up to the whole grazing season.
And is the dosage rate similar to other dewormer products?
It is. It's a 1 ml per 110 pounds. You give it subcutaneously in front of the shoulder, and that single sub-Q injection will give you 100 to 150 days activity.
Sounds like an exciting product. Now, where can people go to get more information on that?
To our website, thelongrangelook.com.
Very good. Thank you, Dr.
Hey,
Diedrichson.
thank you, Kevin.
Important safety information. Do not treat within 48 days of slaughter. Not for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows or in veal calves. Post-injection site damage like granulomas and necrosis can occur. These reactions have disappeared without treatment. Call 888-MARIEL-1 for full prescribing information. We'll be right back.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
To stay up to date on beef industry news and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, check out beefusa.org. You'll find news on both the Federation of State Beef Councils and the work of NCBA on Capitol Hill. Plus, link to NCBA programs like the blog, Beltway Beef, updates on the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and the latest from NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Connect today at beefusa.org. Respiratory disease is a significant animal health issue in the beef industry. It costs producers nearly $1 billion in lost profits each year, and it's the most prevalent disease in calves older than 30 days. So why not prevent respiratory disease before it steals from your bottom line? Vista Once protects your calves with the most complete respiratory disease coverage available, and Vision Blackleg vaccines can add 14 pounds per calf at weaning. For further information, contact your local veterinarian or animal health supplier.
Welcome back. Consumer demand for beef is higher than ever before. And when it comes to the beef that ends up on their table, consumers have lots of questions about how that beef is produced and how sustainable it is. The Beef Checkoff has brought together many sectors from the beef industry to answer those very questions. Reporter Matt Fleck has more.
It's a first-of-its-kind look at the sustainability of our great industry. The beef industry now has information about our sustainability from cradle to grave. The Beef Checkoff funded assessment provides a benchmark for the industry to monitor progress toward a more sustainable future. The preliminary results were rolled out in January to industry leaders. Those results show that the beef industry has an exciting opportunity to, for the first time, tell its story of sustainable beef production backed by science. The first ever beef industry sustainability assessment shows progress made over past decades. The assessment measures beef's contribution to the U.S., utilizing environmental, economic, and social measurements.
As we better understand the consumer and understand that this is a concern of theirs, this whole arena of sustainability, and that we are not just sort of sticking our head in the ground, that we are in fact acting on it, is pretty positive, and speaks, I think, speaks volumes for our industry, that we are proactive, that we are trying to get in front of the issues that are facing our protein, and that we can take advantage of it, do a better job, be committed to continual improvement, and produce even a better product more sustainably than we have in the past to the consumer. And so I really feel like that the beef industry is sort of leaders in the protein marketplace, and this is evident of that.
An advisory board representing the entire industry, from cow-calf producers to the packing sector, participated. The group says they know the importance of all sectors working together on this journey.
I think most of us recognizes that we're in this thing together. You know, it's not about the cow-calf or feeders or packers or the retailers. It's about delivering the best product to the consumer in the most sustainable way. And I think that's really the core message that we have here, is that each of the sectors have opportunities to improvement, but as we become more efficient together, then that's where the big impacts are going to be. That's really where the significance of what we want to accomplish is going to be around, is about that holistic approach of what we can do together in driving a better product to the consumer.
To date, no other industry has completed a holistic life cycle assessment on its full production chain. Beef producers are now positioned to lead the discussion with other protein groups, consumers, non-governmental organizations, and other influencers.
I'm actually really encouraged to see this effort going on. I think it's critically important, and I think that this is an example of where the beef industry is a leader. The others will follow. The other livestock sectors will follow. Dairy has done a lot of work too, more focusing on carbon footprint. The beef industry is looking more at the whole sustainability area, including carbon footprint, but not limiting itself to it. And so what I really appreciate about this project is the complexity. It really looks across many different areas, and that's a game changer. I think the US beef industry can establish itself as a leader, not just in this country, but even globally, in establishing indicators for sustainability.
What we've been seeing here today is talking about where we've been from the 70s to 2005 to 2011. And the results are very encouraging because they're showing that we have made dramatic increases. In some cases, those increases have been credited to improved technologies in our crop production, better yields, or our better yield in production in our cattle that we grow and produce, where you can do more with one animal instead of having to have two animals consuming those resources. And so this has really been a very enlightening discussion, and I'm really excited for producers as a whole to get a look at what's come out here.
The project's next steps include more research and a continued focus on sustainability. One of those steps includes regionalizing the data to allow producers in specific parts of the country to analyze their own practices. The best news? Our industry is already on a strong path.
The message I have for producers is to keep doing what you're doing. You're on the cutting edge. You look at what people are interested in, what they're concerned about, and you act on it. And that sets an industry standard of moving forward. I think that is role modeling for the rest of the food industry to better their practices. It takes care of the environment, and quite honestly, it helps your bottom line as well. But certainly as consumers, we benefit.
The big picture is, and it's part of the game, is that it's not only feeding people now, it's making sure that we can also feed people 10 years from now and 50 years from now and 100 years from now. And so it's a process of thinking, as Bob Budd, a rancher in Wyoming, says, learning to think at the pace of rocks and mountains while learning to act in our own lifetimes.
To learn more about the preliminary results of the Beef Industry Sustainability Assessment, visit beefresearch.org.
And joining us in the studio is Dr. Kim Stackhouse, Director of Sustainability Research for NCBA. Kim, thanks for coming and visiting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, tell folks, what is the Beef Sustainability Research Project?
Yeah, I think it's really important to start out with the why. Why would we conduct a sustainability assessment? And by the year 2050, there'll be 9 billion people that inhabit this planet. And we're going to need 70% more food using fewer resources than we have today. And so the Checkoff funded the largest sustainability assessment that's ever been conducted along a food value chain and really positioned beef to be the global leader in the sustainability conversation.
And you mentioned that the Checkoff funded it. Why was this such an important priority for the Beef Checkoff?
I think it really shows the courage and the bravery that the Checkoff has to be, the first ever food chain to really define sustainability differently than how it's been defined before. So traditionally, sustainability has been defined as carbon footprint or greenhouse gases, and the Checkoff really stepped up and defined it in a different way, defined it as having 3 pillars, social, economic, and environmental. So it's this very holistic approach and really just, goes to show how proactive and progressive the beef industry is on these hot topics.
Well, you mentioned that there have been other sustainability assessments or research projects, and the one that you specifically mentioned, the carbon footprint analysis. How does this one specifically differ from those previous sustainability assessments?
Sure, so this is the first full chain assessment that's ever been conducted along the beef value chain. So basically it starts with the birth of the calf and goes all the way through the consumption of beef by the consumer. And it really sets us up as the beef industry to understand what our true contributions to sustainability are. So, for example, if you're on farm and you're using fertilizers and fuel in your tractor, we have to understand what those impacts are because they count as a part of our sustainability. Okay. So it's very holistic. It really looks at the entire food value chain, and it's within those 3 pillars of sustainability. So it's not just about greenhouse gases, it's about water, it's about rural economies, and it's about, what are you doing for society? Are we participating on school boards, etc.? So it's a very holistic approach to understanding and defining sustainability.
That's outstanding. I love the multidimensional approach you've taken.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations on your work. We'll look forward to learning more about it in the months ahead.
All right, thanks so much.
For more information about the Beef Sustainability Project, log on to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org or beefresearch.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Follow me to Tennessee. Join your fellow cattlemen in Nashville for the 2014 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It's the oldest and largest convention for the beef industry, and it's great for education, networking, and fun. Plus, check out the NCBA Trade Show for the latest technology. It's the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, February 4th through 7th in Nashville. Visit beefusa.org for more.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. It's a television show by cattlemen for cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Thanks for joining us.
Each week, join host Kevin Oxner for the latest in beef cattle news, market analysis, and producer education. Cattlemen won't want to miss an episode. Debuting Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on RFD-TV or anytime at cattlemantocattleman.org.
I am an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because NCBA is our voice in Washington.
I'm an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member because I feel it's important that we have an association such as this in Washington, D.C. to support our cattlemen throughout the country.
I am an NCBA member. Join me today.
Welcome back to this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Environmental stewardship is a way of life for cattlemen, and each year Dow AgroSciences sponsors the Environmental Stewardship Award Program, which recognizes one very special farm or ranch that makes environmental stewardship a top priority. Let's learn more about this year's winner.
In the cool of a Texas morning, Gary Price and his son Gary Lee are moving cattle. The 77 Ranch got its start 36 years ago when Gary and Sue Price acquired their first piece of land from a family friend.
The ranch actually has been put together through the years. We bought the first piece of property back in 1976 from a good old friend of mine named Lee Lowe. He was an old cowboy friend of mine I met first when I was 8 years old, and bought the first piece of property from him when he was beginning to get out of ranching.
The 77 Ranch is definitely a family operation. My husband and I and our son, Gary Lee. I'm fortunate to be married to a husband that loves his job. Every day he gets up and he can't wait to get out and try to make things better.
The 77 Ranch has grown to nearly 2,500 acres today. Because Gary and Sue acquired it piece by piece, their land is in various stages of restoration.
Some of these areas that we know are cropped old fields, we've gone back in and we've reseeded those with native grass mixes and forbs. And some areas, all we've had to do is, through our rotational grazing system, be able to rest those a little bit, and those native grasses, the seed source was there, and then they've really responded well.
I think of Gary as a restoration specialist. We've been able to buy several different farms that joined us, and he could see the possibility that the land had.
Range management, my dad, I think he just kind of has a knack for it. He's a natural at it. One thing he always told me, and I always go back to it, and when I'm out there, you take care of your grass and it'll take care of you.
Taking care of the grass paid off big in 2011 when the Price family faced extreme drought.
There was really nothing green at all throughout the summer, but we were able to get along and not cull anything. And again, we're able to wean all of our calves on schedule and precondition those and then sell them and improve in market, so that helped. But it just showed us the value of range health. I think the main reason they came through that drought strongly was because they left a lot of grass here when things were good, and they didn't try to take it all. They didn't try to mine all the nutrients out of the country.
Gary and Sue have done a great job to weather through the 2011 drought. They were able to get through the drought without selling any livestock, been able to maintain a pasture rotation, and here a year later we're seeing a lot of good responses from our good native grasses.
One key to weathering the drought was the big lakes and other water resources Gary and Sue have developed over the years. Those lakes have also added value by providing fishing and duck hunting income, as well as wildlife habitat.
What stands out to me is Gary and Sue's knowledge of the land, of the vegetation, of the wildlife, and how they make their choices towards managing the land to benefit the wildlife species, and also produces a pretty profitable cattle operation at the same time.
Another key to improving the forage resources on 77 Ranch is brush control.
We like individual plant treatment because we're not disturbing the ground. We've got a lot of good native grass base here that we don't want to go in with a dozer and tear that up. So if we can do individual plant treatment, then we've kept that grass intact, and it's worked well for us. You know, Remedy and Diesel are a great product together that can absolutely do a tremendous job on mesquite, and mesquite would be our #1 brush problem.
The list of conservation projects on 77 Ranch is long. Gary worked with Ducks Unlimited to install a seasonal wetland. Land that once included a washed-out gully now produces a crop and turns into a valuable wetland each fall. And Gary and Sue share the story of ranching with visitors and school groups.
I have a belief that we need to share stewardship with younger people, and that's why it's so important to us to open our gates.
And we bring out 3rd and 4th graders and bring them out on the land from these urban areas, whether it be Dallas or even the Blooming Grove kids locally. And they come out, and we've tried to connect them to the land through the water that they drink, and let them know that their water comes across some ranch somewhere.
The long-term future of 77 Ranch looks bright. Gary Lee is currently working on a ranch in West Texas, but the plan is for him to return home and continue the legacy of stewardship his parents have begun.
It's great that our son loves ranching as much as we do, and when he takes over someday, we'll be leaving it in very good hands.
We like to look at it as we're not trying to conquer this place and conquer this land, but to learn to get along with it, see what it's trying to tell us, and to pass it along certainly better than we found it.
I'm standing here with the National Environmental Stewardship Award winner, the 77 Ranch, with Gary and Sue Price of Blooming Grove, Texas. Congratulations on this award. Gary, what does this mean to you?
Well, it means a lot. Going way back, an old friend of mine, Lilo, we have to give a lot of credit for. He was a mentor of mine and one of my closest friends, and he got me started ranching. And his name is sure forefront today for sure. Yeah.
And Sue, not only have you all done some wonderful things on your ranch, you've done a great job communicating that. Tell us a little bit about the story you do with school children.
We were involved with a program called the LANDS program, Learning Across New Dimensions in Science, with the Texas Wildlife Association, Texas Parks and Wildlife, many other partners. We bring 4th and 5th graders out on the land. We do a water study. The teachers are instrumental doing a curriculum in the classroom. And then they come out for a hands-on learning experience on our place. And their test scores have really jumped. I mean, have skyrocketed through this program. And it's always fun having the kids out. I'm a retired teacher. And so when they come out, it's a joy, and just to see them learning and having fun at the same time, it's really great.
So you're being spokespeople for the industry too. Gary, what's one thing you'd like the public to know about what you all as ranchers are doing to preserve and protect the environment?
Well, we're doing a lot of things. Of course, when you make your living off the land, you've got to get it right. And we like to say that your water comes across our land. And so the things that we do to protect that drinking water and the environment and the wildlife affect all folks, whether you're in the urban area or in the rural areas. And so we're all in this together, and we need to get it right.
Well, congratulations once again. Again, this year's National Environmental Stewardship Award winner, the 77 Ranch from Blooming Grove, Texas. We'll be back right after this.
Nominations for the 2013 Environmental Stewardship Award are open. Each year, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association recognizes an outstanding cattle operation for its excellence in land stewardship and conservation practices.
It's important for us to be good stewards of our land and of our water, and we try to implement practices that are in tune with what is sound as far as sustainability.
True environmental stewards not only strive to leave the land in better shape, but also inspire future generations of stewards.
I think it's been a great opportunity for our family to put together, the story of what we've been doing as stewards.
Nominations can be submitted by any organization, group, or individual on behalf of a U.S. cattle producer. Completed nomination packets must be received by March 1st, 2013. To download a nomination packet or to learn more about the award and previous winners, visit environmentalstewardship.org.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
70% of consumers want to know where their food comes from, and how can we ignore them? IMI Global offers third-party audited source and age verification essential for export markets and specialty markets like natural, organic, omnivoric, Eskimo, or possibly recovering vegan certified. For quality and age producers, to the big boys, any cattleman who wants to expand his market, you're not just buying this green ear tag, you're buying peace of mind. IMIglobal.com. Will you be able to survive in agriculture? Well, here's a test designed by the Cowboy Statistical Service to help you evaluate your chances. Now, you may take this test at home. Please select either A or B. Question number 1. My present financial portfolio includes A, over $1 million in land and livestock free and clear, or B, a 10-year-old 3/4 ton pickup, 6 horses worth 4 cents a pound, and a wife with a job. Number 2, most of my ready cash is in A, interest-bearing checking accounts, or B, a Copenhagen lid on the bedroom dresser. Number 3, my banker calls me A, Mr., B, every 2 hours. Question number 4, my idea of a sound financial investment is A, undeveloped pasture in downtown Dallas, or B, a racing greyhound. Number 5, the best cattle deal I ever made was A, sold 3,000 head of 28-cent Corianders for 56 cents 3 months later. Or B, I stole a truckload of feeder calves and lost $32 a head. Question number 6, I started ranching because A, I love the land and inherited $5 million. Or B, my daddy chained me to a tractor when I was 6 years old. Question number 7, I intend to ranch and farm as long as I can, A, make money, or B, borrow money. And question number 8, the reason I ranch and farm today is A, I find it a fascinating and lucrative profession, or B, I'm in too deep to quit. Well, if you selected all A's, you're an optimistic management type with oil on your property. It's highly likely that you will survive and invest in satellite technology. However, if you selected all B's, you're presently engaged in modern marginal agricultural practices. You will be here tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, and the next, because somebody will always have to be there to do the work. Well, thanks. I hope this little test will be helpful to you. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter, and we'll be right back.
I'm an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because NCBA, they look at the facts, they look at the history, and they look what's good for the industry.
It's important to be NCBA members just because of what NCBA does. They keep us informed about a lot of things that are going on nationwide.
The reason we're an NCBA member is we think that it's the best voice that the cattle people have. We think without the NCBA, why, we'd be in hot water back in Washington.
I think the staff at NCBA and the way they're structured do a tremendous job of representing me in Washington.
I'm an NCBA member because their policy is based on sound science and common sense. Join me today.
Join me today.
Join NCBA today and receive a new member gift while supplies last. Head to beefusa.org and enter the promo code C2C or call 866-USA-BEEF and mention C2C.
Welcome back. Now make sure you join us next week for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. We'll be discussing how quality forage can positively impact your bottom line and how one South Carolina operation is preventing bovine respiratory disease. Plus, the Federation of State Beef Councils celebrates 50 years. And of course, the week's news and market headlines. Well, that does it for this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. We'll see you right back here next week on RFD TV.
For livestock producers, it's always been about the health of the animal, because it's fundamental to their business, and their livelihoods depend on it. It doesn't matter whether it's raising cattle or sheep, running a swine, poultry, or dairy operation. There's a world to feed and a responsibility that comes with it. These are the people who don't just need the animal medicines and vaccines they can trust. They need someone on the other end who understands their challenges, a company who can help their business grow. Give them that, and we're making a difference. We're Zoetis. For animals, for health, for you.
It's deer season savings time. Just in time to get you ready for hay season. With 0% financing on John Deere mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. Plus, get 0% financing on all John Deere utility tractors up to 140 horsepower. It's the season for savings on hay tools and tractors. Deer season. Be sure to stop by today.
Celebrate the heart of America at the 2013 National Ag Day. It's March 19th in our nation's capital. The event honors America's agricultural community and its contributions to our country and our world.
So it's appropriate and absolutely necessary that we take, not just today, not just this week, but every day and every week, to thank American farmers, ranchers, and producers.
Generations nurturing generations. To learn more, visit agday.org.
Grow more low-cost forage and improve grazing access by clearing out weeds and brush with these Dow AgroSciences herbicides. See your Dow AgroSciences representative or visit rangeandpasture.com.